Hello, and welcome to to today's episode of Game On. I am Bruno Oliveira, and I work in the Android Developer Relations team.
And I'm Dan Galpin, and I also work on the Developer Relations team.
So today we're going to talk about the Play Games plugin for Unity. So Unity, as you know, is one of the most popular game engines out there. And the good news is that we now have an official plugin that allows game developers who are writing a Unity game to integrate that with Google Play Game services. So what is it? So if you're writing your game in Unity, you probably have your C# code sitting there on one side, and you want to access the Google Play Games API. However, between you and the API, there is a gap. Notice the very advanced water effect.
Oh, very nice.
In this gap, there are some sharks, like threading. You have to deal with threading because Unity runs on a separate thread, and then Google Play Games API expects you to make calls on the UI thread. Then there's the whole thing about JNI. Of course, Unity has some pretty interesting classes to deal with it, but you still have to be careful with return values and so on. And then there's also some platform-specific code that you would have to write to access the Play Games API on Android and on iOS and so on and so forth.
I think this is fairly harsh on sharks, really.
Yes.
Slide, yes.
Exactly. So the plugin is a way to bridge that gap. See, bridge. Is a way to bridge that gap and get your game safely across to use the Google Play Game services. So this is why we developed the plugin. So you can just write your game code in C# and then not have to worry about all of these details. So Dan, one of the things that I see in a lot of plugins is that they end up forcing you to override your Unity player activity, and they force you to use a particular one that's adapted to their plugin. So if you're already using a different player activity because of some other plugin, then you're in trouble, or you have to do like horrible hacks.
So I'm glad you asked about this. So the Google Play Games plugin does not require that you override your base activity. So your game can use Unity standard player activity or whatever other activity class you are already using.
So that's very good news, because this is one less thing that you have to do to get this integrated. So where can I get this plugin? Well, you can download it from our GitHub repository, and that's the URL. So as you can see, you can either type the full thing or this very easy to memorize shortened version, which is goo.gl/. You can memorize it like a bring your own zebra.
No, just bookmark it.
Just bookmark it.
But the real question is, can they get the source code?
Oh, the source code. So you can get the source code in this completely different URL. Yes, it's open source, so you can look to see how it works. You can break it if you want. You can extend or customize it however you want. So it's open source, and make sure to check the Getting Started guide. That's also on that URL.
Yeah, you might be able to use it as a reference for developing your own implementation of Play Game services on something else outside of Unity.
Exactly. So what exactly can you do with this plugin? Well, right now you can do sign in, of course. Otherwise, you can do anything else. But you can do the user. You can get the user to sign in to Google Play Game Services. Then you can unlock achievements, reveal achievements, increment achievements. You have leaderboards. You can post the scores to leaderboards. You can do cloud save, which means loading from the cloud, saving to the cloud, and you can also show the built-in achievement and leaderboard UIs.
So according to our docs, to use the Games API, you have to add a library project, set up your Android manifest, and a few other things, right? So how do I do that with the plugin?
Exactly. So the good news is that the plugin actually does all of that for you. All you have to do is go into the setup wizard, if you will, and fill in your app ID there. So as soon as you fill in your app ID in the case of Android, it's going to automatically import everything that you need for you. And this includes generating your Android manifest. This includes importing the Google Play Services library project and everything else you need. So for iOS, all you have to do is enter your client ID, your app ID, and your bundle ID, and it's going to do the same thing. So all that boring setup of making sure that you have the library projects in the right place, this is all done automatically by the plugin. So hopefully that's going to be much easier than having to do all this manually.
It's possible we've made it too easy.
Too easy.
Too easy.
Let's hope not.
So Unity already has a built-in social API.
That is true. Unity already has a built-in social API called iSocial Platform. So it's actually an abstract interface that defines a few classes and methods for things like authentication, unlocking achievements, and posting scores to leaderboards. So the Google Play Games plugin, rather than inventing a whole new API, what it does is it implements to that interface so that developers can actually use existing code and just simply switch it to Play Games by picking a different implementation of that interface. So we hope that's going to be pretty convenient. So this is how you would initialize the plugin. So
now, that's not Android or iOS code.
That's actually C#, but that's the beauty of it now that you ask. You don't have to know whether or not this is Android or iOS, because all of the code works regardless of the platform. So the plugin takes care of translating the iSocial Platform calls into the corresponding Play Games SDK in Java or Objective-C into the corresponding platform-based SDKs as appropriate. So you as a game developer don't have to worry about whether or not the game is running on iOS or Android. After you've done the setup, where you have the setup wizard for Android or iOS, that's the last time you have to worry about the platform differences as far as Google Play Games is concerned. So this is pretty convenient.
That's why classes that start with I are cool.
That's true. Classes start with I are very cool. So this is what you have to do to get people to authenticate. So this is the first step. You have to get people to get authenticated with the game, with Google Play Game Services. So this is typically what you would do when somebody would click the sign in button, right?
Yeah, but you can also call that on startup. And this is really, really cool. We find that when you actually pop that dialog on startup, more people are likely to sign in, and that's better for you, it's better for users, makes the users happy. And so definitely consider doing that.
Yes. Just make sure not to be too annoying to the user. So if the user cancels the sign-in flow a few times, that's probably because they don't really want to do it. So you're probably better off not trying to push it too much and then have the sign-in button.
Yeah, leave a button there in all cases.
Exactly. Just in case they change their minds one day.
Exactly. Yeah. They might, their friends might say, "Hey, you should be competing with me on the leaderboards or something like that."
Exactly.
So make it available.
Yep. So how do you unlock an achievement using plugin? All they have to do is call social.report progress. Again, this is not a method that we made up. This is a method that's part of the iSocial platform interface. So all they have to do is call report progress. Then you pass in the achievement ID. So that's the same thing you get from the developer console. And then you pass your callback that's going to run to determine, as a callback if there's success or failure. Next, how do you increment an achievement? Incrementing achievements, you can also do through report progress, but we do have an extension method called increment achievement, which works more like our platform. So you just pass in the achievement ID, the number of steps you want to increment it by, and then again a callback that indicates success or failure. Reporting score is equally easy. You just call report score, conveniently enough, and you pass in the ID of the leaderboard that you want to report it to and the score that you want to report. Again, success or failure is in the callback. And then we also have the built-in UI. So that you don't have to create the UIs yourself, we have some built-in UIs you can show using just one line of code. So if you just want to show the standard achievements UI, you can just call show achievements UI. And then if you want to show the standard leaderboard UI, same thing, just show leaderboards UI. This is what it looks like on Android. So this is the standard achievements UI for a game that we made called Nostalgic Racer. So notice that I can see the achievements that I've unlocked, and I also see the achievements that I have not unlocked. The corresponding screen on iOS is like this. So same functionality, except it looks more compatible with the platform. And we also have the corresponding one for leaderboard. So this is an example of the leaderboard screen on Android. So it shows my friends and the public leaderboards and what scores people have. And we also have Cloud Save, right? So Cloud Save is one of my favorite features in games, and I think too few games implement it nowadays. I wish all games would implement that.
For us, we basically won't play games unless they have some sort of cloud save in them.
Exactly, because right now I think more and more people live in the cloud. You're not married to a specific device. People change devices all the time. Devices fall into the water and then you replace them. So all sorts of things happen to devices, including upgrades. So when that happens, you don't want to lose your game progress just because of that. So Cloud Save is a pretty important feature there. So which is why we wanted that to be in the plugin as well. So the plugin of course allows you to save state into the cloud, load state from the cloud, and of course you can also handle Cloud Save conflicts.
Very nice icon there. Yeah, well done.
So loading from the cloud. So how do you go ahead and load data from the cloud? To do that, all you have to do is call load state, and then you pass in, as you know, the cloud, our Cloud Save service has separate slots. So we currently have 4 slots, so you can have different types of data in each of the slots. In this example, we're just using slot 0 for simplicity. Just call load state, pass in the slot number, and then you pass in a listener that's going to be called whenever that load operation completes, so it's asynchronous. Saving to the cloud is very similar. Just call update state, pass in the slot number, the data, and the listener. Notice that the data is just a byte array, so to us it's completely opaque. We have no idea what's inside that byte array, so it's your game's responsibility to encode the data into a byte array and then decode it later. And be careful about different platforms and all the usual caveats about dealing with serialization of data. Again, this is the on-state loaded listener that's going to be called whenever the game state is saved. So this is what the on-state loaded listener looks like. Notice that there's one additional method there that's called on-state conflict. And on-state conflict is going to be called whenever there's a conflict. So, and a conflict happens when, for instance, one device tries to save one state and then a different device tries to save a different state. So this is where you want to sort of like merge the two states and return the combined progress of the user so that the user doesn't lose any progress. So if they unlocked one level A on one device and then level B on a different device, the result you want to have is that the user has unlocked levels A and B and not one or the other.
So what happens if you try to save, cloud save, and you are not connected to the net?
So one of the advantages of our cloud save API is that it actually works offline. So you can have cloud save even though there's no cloud. Because what happens is that when you try to save to the cloud and you're offline, it's going to get that state that you're saving is going to get stored in a local cache. Then that's going to get synchronized to the cloud as soon as there's connectivity comes back. So same thing with loading from the cloud. So the device is going to have a cache of the last known state of the cloud, which means that even if the user doesn't have an internet connection at the moment, and you ask the device to load from the cloud, it's going to return the last known state that the device has cached. So this is very convenient because, after all, mobile users are not always connected to the internet. In the real world, there are things like parking lots and tunnels and so on. And even foreign countries where roaming charges are very expensive.
The real world is overrated.
Yes, exactly. So we also have a sample for you to play with. So if you download our source code from the GitHub repository, you can also see this Cubic Pilot sample. So it's a very simple game that shows all of my artistic skill in creating graphics, which essentially is just creating cubes. So as you can see, essentially every enemy and everything in the game is just a cube or combinations thereof.
But it's surprisingly fun to destroy geometry.
Yes, destroying geometry is a very interesting pastime. So if you want to destroy some geometry, definitely download that sample and you can play it. If you want to try the Google Play Game Services on it, all you have to do, it has placeholders where you can drop in your leaderboard IDs and achievement IDs. And so you can actually use it to try like unlocking achievements and posting to leaderboards and so on and so forth. And I guess that's pretty much all there is to it. So again, where can they get all of this? Again, in this website that we have not mentioned before in this presentation, not at all. So bring your own bookmark.
Yes, bookmark.
Yes. So be sure to download it from there. We have source code, we have samples, we have a pretty complete getting started guide that explains everything. We also have a zip file with all the API docs. So for all the methods, we have documentation on what they do, and so on and so forth. So it's everything you need to get started. If you have any questions about this, a great place to post them is Stack Overflow. Be sure to tag them with Google Play Games because we actually, as a matter of a daily routine, we're checking that daily. So that's definitely the best place to post questions. And add me on Google+, and feel free to nag me to answer your questions on Stack Overflow or to fix stuff that's broken and anything else. All right, so that's it for today's Game On episode. We hope you enjoyed it, and definitely please download our plugin and give us any feedback that you have. So thank you very much.
Thank you.